So today we're headed to North Yorkshire to one of the best preserved medieval castles in all of England, that being Skipton Castle. So as you can tell, I've just woken up, I'm a bit groggy. Hopefully I'll be alright. I've got myself a Tango. Drive safe is my rule, so I always drink Tango. So yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't turn out to be a complete disaster. Skipton, also known as Skipton in Craven, is a civil parish in the Craven district of North Yorkshire. It's home to an amazingly well-preserved castle of Norman origins, named Skipton Castle, which should come as no surprise in reality. This castle has over 900 years of history, and on a whim I decided to head down and check it out. Skipton Castle was initially constructed as a wooden Motte and Bailey fort by Rebel de Romee, a Norman baron, at some point after the year 1090. Made from timber, the ramparts had minimal effect against the frequently raiding Scots of the time, as they would repeatedly venture south into the north of England. The wooden fortress was then rebuilt into a more impressive, powerful stone castle in the early 12th century. Now, the land where an ineffective fort once stood was home to a structure capable of repelling the Scots. With cliffs directly behind the castle, it was the perfect defensive structure. The Romee line would eventually die out, and in 1310 King Edward II would grant the castle to the Clifford family, Robert Clifford becoming Lord Clifford of Skipton and Guardian of Craven. Clifford would improve many aspects to Skipton Castle's fortifications before dying in the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, only 4 years later. Skipton Castle quickly became known as the Guardian of the Gateway to the Yorkshire Dales. Anyway, the Clifford family were fiercely loyal to the crown. John the 9th Lord Clifford died in the Battle of Towton under Henry VI's banner in the year 1461, and George Clifford, 3rd Earl of Cumberland, was said to be Queen Elizabeth I's champion. Skipton Castle's primary claim to fame, however, comes during the English Civil War, in which the parliamentarian Roundheads would face the royalist Cavaliers over England's governance, with the parliamentarians challenging King Charles I's divine right and absolute rule in favour of a republic governance known as the Commonwealth of England, run by Parliament, rather than by the inescapable shortcomings of nepotism that came with the territory of monarchy. During the Civil War, Skipton Castle became the last royalist stronghold in the north, and found itself under siege for 3 long years between 1642 and 1645, when it eventually surrendered to parliamentarian forces. The castle was badly damaged. 3 years besieged will do that to any structure. However, Lady Anne Clifford would see it restored. Born in 1590, Lady Clifford had to fight for 4 decades for the right to even inherit her father's estates, and would go on to restore numerous castles and churches on her lands. Upon completing reparations to Skipton Castle, Lady Anne Clifford would plant a yew tree in the castle's conduit court. Skipton Castle would remain the primary residence of the Clifford family until Lady Anne Clifford's passing in 1676, aged 86 years, and the Clifford banner flies atop the castle today. Skipton Castle is pretty damn impressive, and it's mostly open to tourists, though a portion remains a private residence to this day. Upon approach, you're met by what I can only describe as a gatehouse, atop which the word désormais can be read, meaning from now on, or henceforth in French, the motto of the Clifford family, surrounded by walls, meaning the only way in is through this small pass. Immediately inside, you have the castle grounds. In the grounds, you can visit the ancient chapel of St. John the Evangelist. Believed to be from the 13th century, access to the chapel was exclusive to the owners and residents of the castle. Now, it sits in a sorrier state than the castle itself, however it's still fascinating to visit. The grounds are made complete by a gift shop and cafe, which is besides the point of this video, but I bought this strange botanical cola and it's probably the best shot I have in this entire reel, so I just had to include it. And I also bought a mad pen, because who doesn't want a mad pen? The castle itself is unfurnished but well preserved. On the ground floor you can visit the dungeon, which offered no outside lighting and was dark and depressing, as you could imagine being imprisoned here would be, though anyone imprisoned here was kept well fed, and it still stinks of pungent stale something to really immerse you in that experience. There's a fighting chamber, a Norman arch which likely saw use during the siege I mentioned before, a curing room that allowed for the dry curing of meat, and the new kitchen, which was built in the 18th century. Beer and wine cellars, and of course the conduit court, which is home to the yew tree that was planted by Lady Anne Clifford in 1659 to mark the castle's repair from damages sustained during the Civil War, meaning this tree has stood where it can be seen today for over 350 years. The first floor consists of a medieval kitchen, a banqueting hall, a withdrawing room to escape the hustle and bustle of banquets, often utilised by the women of Skipton Castle, the Lord's Day Room, a muniment room for the storage and preservation of records, the Lord's Bedchamber, and a watchtower, which grants excellent views. Oh, and you can also visit the privy, where you can see how waste was disposed of. The answer is straight down the side of the walls, in fairness. Never got a shot looking down a toilet before, but here we are. Behind the castle, beneath the cliffs, stands the Skipton Castle Woods, which can be accessed a short walk from the high street of modern-day Skipton. Its resources were the castle's main source of fuel, building supplies and food for centuries. As you enter the woodland from Skipton Castle's end, you're greeted by a wooden sculpture of a woman with a bow pointing inward, known as the spirit of the medieval huntress, commissioned in 2018 along with other pieces to mark the wood's significance to Skipton Castle itself. You can also see the castle from beneath the cliff and take in a truly amazing sight. If you walked the entire length of the woodland, you would find yourself in there for at least an hour, and it's always amazing how you can be in a castle holding 900 years worth of human history, and then, a short 5-minute walk later, you're in the woods surrounded by nature. The majority of the castle that stands today is from the early 14th century, with fragments of Norman stonework and restoration works from the 17th century. The occupied wing of the castle was constructed in 1535 and restored in the 17th century. Additions, restorations and reconstruction aside, a castle has sat here for over 900 years. All in all, if you find yourselves wanting to visit a fascinating historical location whilst in the area, definitely consider stopping by Skipton Castle, though they prefer you book your visit online in advance. Anyway, that brings us nicely to the end of today's video on the fascinating castle that stands in Skipton. Thank you all for watching this video. I really hope that you've enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. That would be super amazing. And be sure to whack notifications on if you like this content, as it really helps us get out there a little bit. And of course, the main thing we ask is if you decide to visit Skipton Castle as a result of watching this video, please do respect the site. But until next time, please take care, and goodbye.